Going on, what did we discuss last week?
Up until like the seventh grade.
Plagues and wonders.
Only up until like the seventh grade, just before the hardcore ones, where with my watch.
Okay, so we've done 7 plagues. What is the point of plagues? Was God just being mean?
I want to show Egypt the world.
Alright, so if God wants to show, okay, and remember, we've got wonders or plagues, and we've got 1, 2, 3 at a specific point.
It was so you will know who is God.
Okay, so you will know that He's real. Real God, not Egyptian gods. Okay? Plagues 3 to 6. Point. Sorry? Alright, He can distinguish. He can distinguish between His people and who's not His people. Alright, remember, this clearly shows us that this isn't just a random act that Egypt just had a really rough time. Okay? Remember, the Hebrews, the Israelites were in Goshen. Alright? They were still in the land of Egypt. And then all of a sudden, something horrific happens to one side, or 90% of Egypt, but Goshen is like, times are pretty tough outside of this little town. Okay? So He was showing, and Scripture then also pointed out that God is God in the land. And remember, how many different gods did Egypt believe in?
1,400 or something.
Well, let's talk about mainstream.
Or wasn't it the competing commandments against each god?
Yeah, it was.
I
know what you want to say, yes. Okay? So around the region of 20, 22 different gods. Okay? So like we said last week, if I want a baby, I will go to the fertility god. And if I want to win in war, I would go to the god of war. And if I need healing, I would go to the god of medicine. And if I need crops, I would go maybe to the fertility god, but specifically the fertility god who makes wheat grow. Okay? Well, I'm going to mention a couple of these different deities to you. And each time we see this is God going, so you believe the Nile is your God. So you believe this God can save you. And remember, the Nile, just as the starter, had 2 different things. One, it was the very lifeblood of Osiris. Big God. And it was also the God who kept them alive. Remember, the Nile flooded every couple of years. And when it floods its banks, okay, what happens is this. Okay, if we have a riverbank, then the water level comes up and it goes over and it spills onto the land. And all the minerals in that come in and they soak into the soil. And when it all soaks into the soil becomes nice and fertile, it's revived, and then all of a sudden, we have nice crops. Okay? So it must be a God. I mean, it takes care of us so nicely. And if we can't, and if the Nile is not breaking its banks, and this is like clockwork, I think it's every 3 years. Alright? What they did is they pedaled the water out, and it still provided for you. Okay? There's so many different aspects in the ancient times that it was about what your God could do for you. He is the God of war. You are powerful because your God is powerful. You make Him happy, He keeps you powerful. Alright? Because He wants His name shouted out all over the place, and we're going to have a contest. Which God is stronger? Which God can give you the most stuff? Which God will make you the happiest? Which God will blah, 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 blah. And what blows my mind is that God, our God, who created everything, comes down into a place and He knocks on the superpower's door and He goes, you know, I think I need to teach you because you've obviously forgotten. And this isn't Daddy pulling off his belt going, oh, you're going to learn now. This is God lovingly coming into time, space, reaching a specific groups of people to show them who He is. Okay? I equate it to God literally comes down into your life and He turns your world upside down. He shakes you until everything you think is going right is all upside down. Everything that you trusted in is now gone. And now all of a sudden you start to realize, hang on a second, what's going on here? And when your bum hits the floor, you look up for the first time and you see God and you go, oh, He's real. Well, if He's real, who is He? And God slowly but surely starts to reveal Himself to you in different experiences, leading you through different stages of your walk with Him to get you to where He needs you to be. Okay? Plagues or wonders, should I say? So we say, 7 to 9. You could possibly include 10. Okay? What was the point?
But I'm not saying was specifically dealing with Pharaoh.
I was dealing with the same thing.
Okay. I mean,
To change their hearts.
Well, He was been trying to do that from the very beginning. I have no equal. I alone am going to do things that you've never seen possible. That do not seem possible, that you've never seen in your entire life. Things that are going to happen in Egypt that have never happened before, and probably will never happen thereafter. Why? Because out of love, God will shake heaven and earth to get your attention, to turn your heart back to truth. Plague, all of a sudden, jumps into our mind as judgments. This is not a judgment. God said, I think in the previous portion, I could have wiped you off the face of the earth by now. A stroke of a pinky wouldn't have been too much, and He could have just going, you forget about me, boom, you're gone. No. Tell Him this is what's going to happen. When do you want it to happen? Well, tomorrow it's going to happen. And it happens. So that you will know that your God isn't real, and you will know that I am real, and that He will continue to teach, continue to lead, continue to try and fight to bring you back. Whose God is more powerful? Is the bondage you put yourself in so strong that God comes down and breaks chains? And remember, time and time again, this whole Mitzrayim thing. Mitzrayim is Hebrew for Egypt. Literally means bondage. When God comes down to break the chains of bondage in your life and show you who He is, this is exactly what Yeshua has done, and this is exactly what's going to happen the end times in Revelations. These testimonies are so powerful that people still know. Even though they don't know their Bibles, they know about the plagues. They know that there was some bad things going on, and there was this thing, but they have a very skew idea of what the agenda of God was. It's love. No, God's all about judgment, wrath, and smacking bottoms in Old Testament. New Testament is all about fluffy bunnies and rainbows and, don't worry, everything's just going to be all fine. You can do whatever you like, the price has been paid. No. If God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, all of these images and all of these ideas are going to come back time and time and time again. And I'll challenge you, go look at Revelations, go look at the plagues of which are mentioned. And many seem to be recurring. Why? For God so loved the world. He wants to teach the world. So you think medicine is going to save you. So you think your intellect, you think your power, you think your greed, you think whatever. Your title is going to save you. You think that's it. And remember, these are different types of gods in our age. Fortune, power, These are things that people bow down to, will give anything for to have. And when they get it, well, the society of the world is already telling you it's all about you. You know, these people don't really matter. It's about what you get out of the study, because it's about you. You only had to learn for you. Family is about family. God is about family. What are you doing here to help the people around you? And while you're here, He's going to build you up with someone else so that you can better grow. I didn't bring you here. 50 million other things you could probably be doing right now than sitting in a fairly cold upper room listening to me waffle on about Old Testament things. Sleeping late would probably be a high priority list for many of you today. But unfortunately you get this poke and God builds this desire in you. I have to know more. If He is real, what does He want from me? Why did He die for me? What's the purpose of this? And I know when I was first gave my life over to God and I was baptized, the first thing He showed me is that He's real. And I started to hunger and I started to go, well, if you're real, I need to know more about you. And that's what drove me to discover more. And the more I learned, the more He put me through things to teach me more about Him. The more He revealed His names, His functions to me, and who He is, and who I am to Him. These major key points are basis levels to what every single one of you will go through in your Christian walk. As Hebrews, remember, the word Hebrew means to cross over. Just like Abraham was a Mesopotamian man, and he crossed over from a household full of idols into a household that belonged to God. He wasn't worrying about the land of Ur anymore. He gave up the comfort of his home. You know, when they did some archaeological digs and things like that, they found fireplaces the size of this wall. He wasn't living in the dust going, oh, well, I might as well carry a tent on my back and go see the world. He left up his comfort because all of a sudden God pitched up. He's like, oi, you with the face, let's go for a walk. Like, where are we going? Man, let's go for a walk and I'll tell you when we get there. Okay. And God takes you on a journey and He starts to reveal Himself to you if you listen. Or we have, every one of us has a Pharaoh part that has to be taken care of. No, but this is what I want to do. No, this is all about me. No, this is my family. And I will decide what happens here. It's my business. This is my position. These are my friends. Really? Every single one of us have to start to hand over at one way, shape or form going, Lord, you gave me this wife. What do I do with her? And then when you go look in His Word and you start to delve deep into who He is, you find the obvious answer. You love her. But I was doing that anyway. Yeah, but you were doing it for yourself. Now I want you to do it for me. Well, isn't that the same thing? Let me put it to you this way. You're all pretty nice people. You know, when you drive past in your, before you became believers or before you were brave enough to come here to this crazy classroom, you were driving along the road and then all of a sudden you see a guy standing on the road and you think, oh shit, he has $20. Who's a good boy, who's a good boy, who's a good boy? I'm a nice guy. I just gave that poor man $20 so he will have bread to eat. Thank you very much. I can eat today. Ah, it's okay, bud. Take it easy, alright? You feel all good about yourself. But when God comes up to you and He knocks on your window and He goes, oh, you see that guy up at the robot? You know, give him 20 bucks. I don't want to give him 20 bucks. He should be working. Give him 20 bucks. But I don't want to. How many of you have had this little internal struggle? Why do I have to give him 20 bucks? I gave you the 20 bucks so that you can give to him. That's the whole purpose of that 20 rand. Are you sure he's going to use it okay? It looks kind of like, you know, dodgy. Shut up and give him 20 bucks. Okay, give him 20 bucks. And the man just breaks down. And you're driving away and you don't understand it because you didn't even say, hey, how you doing? I'm really worried about who you are. He has 20 rand to buy you bread. You said nothing. You gave him 20 bucks and then all of a sudden this man just pours into a puddle and he's crying and you don't understand what's going on. And he looks up and maybe says something like this. This has been a testimony of many a person. I was praying to a God I don't believe in. That if He just gave me enough bread to eat today, I will know that He cares, that He loves me and that He's real. 20 bucks to you, nothing. 20 bucks to Him equals real God. See the difference? As we start to walk in obedience, as we start to open up our eyes to His teaching us, He becomes real to the world around Him. All of a sudden, you sitting in a job and people are freaking out about recession and work deadlines and work stress, and they just can't understand and they're working late and it doesn't seem like they're getting anywhere and they're pulling their hair out and you're sitting there going, why are you smiling all the time? Oh, you know, God gave us a lot of work. We're going to get this done. Yes, it's a little bit hectic right now, but God is good. We're going to get this done. And somehow it happens. Or maybe in a different world, sadly enough, some companies are closing. And yet, your little Snotkop enterprise, and you're the only believer sitting there going, what's going on? And God goes, don't worry, my boy, I got this. And He makes sure your little company has enough so that they can pay your salary. And every time you get your paycheck, you look up and you go, oh Hashem, Lord, I know this is from you and you alone. The only reason He keeps that company afloat is to give you an income because He knows that you have to look after your family. I can distinguish between mine and who's not. And this is when things get really exciting. When He starts to pitch up at your door and worlds start changing. A testimony, I heard about a guy went out to a conference at a church. He was actually invited to Israel to go and recount the story a few times. And he was sitting over there, I'm sure I mentioned this before, but this guy was sitting over there and during praise and worship in this church session or something that was going on, during the teaching, this lady who had been in church, who was a believer the whole time, all of a sudden passed away in church. And they realize what's going on, and then people start panicking, and then, okay, all right, okay guys. Elders calling the place down, and this guy was one of them, and he's like, all right, let's phone the ambulance, let's get Elijah, I'm pretty sure she's gone, there's nothing we can do. And they just sat around and they waited for the ambulance, and a group of people just started singing hymns quietly amongst themselves and all the rest. And then all of a sudden, a small, still voice comes into this guy's spirit, his heart, and he hears it clearly, and he goes, God says to him, this is not from me. Get up and go talk to that woman. And he kind of has to switch off the natural part of his brain, and he walks up to this woman and he says, in Yeshua's name, get up. And after being dead for probably about an hour, she stands up and walks. You take that testimony and you go to places like Israel, and you go talk to people who are blinded, people who do not know there is a God, that do not understand the power of God. And he stands up and he goes, man, we've got about 20 witnesses, this is what happened. And you go, share their testimony to people who only petition their God for mercy. Or go talk to people and say, your God isn't a God of love. You go, well, I've got something to share with you. And then all of a sudden this thing starts to come out and he realizes, and that congregation realizes, every time they see that woman walk through the pews to come sit down or come sing a praise and worship, it's like, that lady was dead. The only reason she's here is because our God chose to reverse something, to give a testimony into our mouths so that we can walk around and we can go, guess what? He's real. He answered our prayers and He is above everything. He does the same thing time and time and time again in people's lives. And you can either be Pharaoh and go, yeah, whatever. She probably slipped into a coma and then woke up. Or you can acknowledge truth and understand God's heart and let, when He comes into this loving teaching mode, you start to see the most amazing things. And the longer you walk, the more you realize people's lives get changed by what He teaches and what He wants and who He wants. And it's only miraculous that all of you are sitting here blowing my mind that on a Saturday morning expecting maybe 5 people were a full house. God's changing your heart. He's changing your life. He's reaching out to you and He goes, at whatever level you are, He's busy teaching. You're starting to understand the foundation of plagues. People who do not know Him call them plagues. He Himself says wonders. I'm going to unleash some wonders on the world, man. And you're going to see things that people say can never be done. Oh, I'm going to be sitting there going, guess what, family? I'm real. Guess what, world? I'm real. And if they can acknowledge that He exists, that He is real, that the God who lovingly gives us archaeology, history, testimonies, just to reaffirm everything is written to you in a book, just to help you understand who He is, to save you from yourself. I don't know about you guys, but when I was living for me, I ran into a couple of big brick walls. And then I didn't like the mess that was around me. I didn't like the person who I had become. Other people loved me. They thought I was fantastic. You were funny when you drove. That was who I was to them. I wasn't happy. I didn't have peace. I didn't have purpose. If you let Him work, He will change everything. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying you are not going to be, there won't be hard times, there won't be difficulties, there won't be the perversion of the world that is still around us. One thing I can tell you for sure, the promise that He gives us is that He'll never leave us nor forsake us. He's never stopped hearing your prayers. But something we need to understand, that His timing, His purpose, His place for His glory. It's not about your comfort right now. It's about me teaching you so that I can get you to the next level so you can be stronger. So that when someone else goes through this, you can walk up to them and you can hold their hand and you're saying, guess what, be strong. Because let me tell you what God did for me. He's busy working. It was uncomfortable, but I'm a stronger believer now than what I ever was before. Okay? Alright.
I just want to ask one thing. Do you think some of the Egyptians ran over to the land of Goshen to get away from the plagues?
It doesn't say so, but it wouldn't surprise me by the result of what happens. Okay.
So nothing's happening to them. I'm going to go pitch my tent outside.
But it's a thing, Pharaoh actually sent people to investigate what was going on. Remember when the livestock was struck down? with the wonder. All of the livestock was just, they died, and then he sends people in to go see if the Hebrews livestock. He goes, go see what's going on there. They're all eating grass and going moo, and he's going, no, not one of them died. And remember with the hail, he says, for those who feared God, brought all what was left, their cattle in. See, that's the lovely thing about God. He didn't wipe out every single piece of cattle. He allowed them to keep some. Because he knows they need them to live. Just like the Nile. Blood in the Nile. Blood in buckets. Blood in cisterns that they pulled out in the Nile. And he allows them to dig around the Nile and they find fresh water. Why?
He cares for them. He's not going to punish them.
It's a wonder. I love you. Pay attention. This is not me smacking your bum. This is me teaching you who I am. And these people who were very nervous about the cattle come through this whole little process, and they actually, when they heard it, they pulled all their cattle in and they told all their servants, "Oi, the God of Moses said he's going to do this tomorrow. We better get inside." And they were protected. People were paying attention. Remember, he wasn't just teaching the Hebrews who he was, who he is. He was teaching Egypt, he was teaching Pharaoh, and he was teaching the world. If the superpower of today, with all their powerful gods, the gods of Egypt are awesome, man, who can go up against them? Yeah. A bunch of slaves running around doing some things, and all of a sudden their God pitches up, and Egypt's gods fall on their face, and they have no answer. Nothing. Wow. The testimony goes up before them, and it reverberates through the world. Don't think for a second that your transformation, when God came into your life and started shaking you up, and you realize that He's real and you want to give your life to Him, and people you haven't spoken to, or people you don't even know, have heard what is going on in your life. Oh, you know, Shen, she crazy, right? All of a sudden she goes to some weird Bible study down the road, and now she just lost her mind. She don't want to talk anymore. She's just talking about a Pesach. I don't know what the Pesach is, but it sounds really weird. And, you know, Shen, first time coming, yeah, she goes, all right, I'm going to do this. And then she realized it overlapped with her family holiday in Sudwana, so she had to prep them. So it's going to be a little weird from this side. And they were like, well, Shen, you're a little weird anyway, so we'll just kind of flow with it. And she had to try and do this all by herself. And I'm telling you now, that testimony of what's going on in her life is reaching people that have never heard or have never met her. Why? Because God wants to tell not only you, He wants to tell your family, but He also wants to show the world that He's real. Right, let's try to get into this. Yeah, just by the way, I have no idea how long we're going to spend on this. We might have to split it up in two different portions, because it is overlapping with Passover and how we should eat. And I also want to reiterate again, some of you have heard this, some of you have not, and we have to look at the different parallels between Old and New Testament, right? Happiness is. Okay. Exodus chapter 10 verse 1. We're doing the parasha called Bo.
What?
Bo. The parasha. Bo. It means come.
What is parasha?
Parasha is a portion. Remember that I said in the old times in the Torah scroll you don't have chapter and verse? So what you do is you scroll until you get a portion or a size that's locked up, and the first word is, or the first letter comes into come. So now we're reading the portion that starts with the words Bo. Alright?
Does it mean come or go?
It can be both, because when I say Bo'i, come to me. And Bo can also be similarly translated, but Holech is probably more better used. Holech, okay? But it can be used either. Remember, biblical Hebrew and conversational Hebrew is like English and Old King James. Okay? It's a higher level of Hebrew. Okay? So, chapter 10 verse 1. And Yud-He Vav-He, Yahweh, okay, comes in. Remember, what does the name mean? Be.
Function.
Yes, he's trying to tell you a function, but what does it mean? Hand revealed, nail revealed. In the very name of God, he's saying, I'm going to reveal something with a hand and a nail. Who do you think he's talking about? Yeshua. Right. Okay. What else does his name mean? Salvation. Okay. That's where you get it from. And remember, when we look at the Yud He Vav He, and we look at what he said, I have revealed myself to your forefathers as El Shaddai, but to me I will be, well, to you I will reveal myself as this. Remember, he's talking about first person, third person, and it literally means he will cause to be. He will make it happen. And it's amazing that he will cause salvation to be through a hand and a nail. Yes, we are studying Old Testament. This is not New Testament. Okay. So, he said to Moses, come to Pharaoh because I have made his heart and his servants' hearts heavy for the purpose of my setting the signs of mine among them. And for the purpose that you will that you will tell in the ears of your son and your son's sons about how I, what's your word, what's the next word there?
Mighty.
Your mighty deeds. Okay, mine sounds a little bit rough. It says, how I abused Egypt. Remember, Hebrew is a funny language. There's lots of different ways we can say it. Okay? Wrought. Okay, what he brought about. And about my signs that I set among them, not to them, but among them. Teaching aids. And you will know that I am. I am Hashem. And Moses and Aaron came to Pharaoh and said to him, Hashem, God of the Hebrews, said this, how long do you refuse to be humble in front of me? Let my people go so that they may serve me. Because if you refuse to let my people go, I am bringing a locust swarm in your border tomorrow, and it will cover the eye of the land, and one won't be able to see the land. It is so bad that you will not see dust on the ground. Okay? And it will eat the remains of what survived that is left to you from the hail. Okay? Again, God being merciful. He kept some food for them so that they would survive. It's not about me judging you. It's about me teaching you. And it will eat every tree that is growing for you and from the field. And they will fill up your houses and the houses of all the servants and the houses of all of Egypt. Your fathers and your fathers' fathers did not see. From that day, they were on the land until this day. And he turned and he went from Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's servants said to him, how long will this be a trap for us? Let the people go, so that they may serve Hashem, their God. Don't you know yet that Egypt has perished? The servants come up to Pharaoh, and they're even pleading on the Hebrews' behalf now, and they're saying, listen, if you carry on being this stubborn, you will destroy us. You will destroy the land. You will destroy the legacy, because you are refusing to acknowledge that God is greater. Listen to me, people. You will find people like this, sadly enough, in this world that would rather destroy their own lives and their households than acknowledge that God is real. And it blows the mind. Because they are so trying to prove to you that they're right. And it's about them. And they don't have to answer to anybody else. It's nice when I know He's not real. Then I don't have to ask the question, well, if I died for you, why didn't you do anything about it? Oh no, but you don't exist. But I do exist. No, you're talking absolute nonsense. It was karma, luck, doesn't have a chance, whatever you want to call it. And they will justify why they think or what they believe. And they will try and push their agenda. But this only leads to death. There's a very cool thing that I read on one of the Facebook posts. I can take this off, right? 3 words. Okay, I'm going to do the cursive, because I write better like that. Aleph, okay, in the text it kind of looks like a funny cross. Okay, Aleph, Mem, in Hebrew actually looks like that. And Tav, Emet. Now, that's the word for truth. Okay? Now, if we take away A, that represents Av, as in father. Okay? So if we remove the father out of the word, we're only left with Met. Guess what Met means? Death. You take God out of the truth and all you have is death. Now you start to understand why we want to study Hebrew. You put him back in place, the opposite of death will only bring writing in Hebrew going the wrong way, life. Your choice. Remove God out of everything and you will only have death. Okay?
So which one needs father? Just those 3.
This one is 1 letter.
What is it?
Aleph. Aleph. That's the way you write in text. Okay, remember in Hebrew you've got 2 different alphabets. You have a printed one, much like the ones that you'll find in your Torah. Okay? All pretty and printed and stuff. But when you write it in freehand, it changes. Drives me crazy. Okay, wait. Just because you start to realize that, well, just when you think you know how to write and read a little bit and then they change the whole alphabet and you have to learn all over again.
So the bottom one is the full word.
No, that's just that.
Oh.
Okay, if we look at let me see if I can find one, I can't remember offhand. Mem kind of looks like, Achid will check me on this, kind of does something along the lines of, comes back and then I stand to be corrected guys, text is not my strongest point, right? Matrix. Yeah, okay, I'm trying to copy over here, but that's why it's more calligraphy writing than anything else. That's why they print it. Okay, and the Tet, as in Torah, okay, does something very similar, but it does, I think it's got a little leg that comes in. It's got a little tail at the end, eh? Yeah. It comes out like this. You see the slightness of how to read it. It's just a couple of legs that are slightly out. Can everybody see? Okay. Like I said, text drives me a little bit crazy because you write it out, when you write it out, any letter now will be written in cursive.
And also at the same time, you've got Aleph Tav.
Yes.
Aleph Tav
Also important for pointing that out. Yeah. Actually, the first letter of the alphabet, the last letter of the alphabet, and this one is exactly in the middle of the alphabet.
It's water. Water.
Water.
Yeah, so Aleph Tav, water.
Very good. Okay, Mark's telling me something he learned. Okay, if you take the Aleph Tav, okay, the Met means water. Okay, and then you have the Aleph Tav, which is Yeshua says, I'm the Alpha and Omega. That's the Greek alphabet. Hebrew alphabet is the first and the last. Okay, so here's the beginning of the end. So we can say beginning. Oh, let's do this right. Beginning and the end of life-giving water, better translated, living water. Yay for Hebrew. Alright, so we need life to come in truth. Okay? And Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh, and he said to them, go serve Hashem your God. Who are the ones who are going? Who are the ones that are going? How many times has he already told them, hey listen, we have to go, we have to take our cattle, all of us have to go, and we're going to go worship for 3 days. And what Pharaoh continues to do is he still tries to negotiate. And Moses said, well, we'll all go with our young and with our old, and we'll go with our sons and with our daughters and our sheep and our oxen, because we are going to have a festival to Hashem. And he said to them, Hashem would be with you like that. What does your translation say?
Let the Lord be with you as I let you and the little ones go.
Okay, apparently in Hebrew, from what I've learned from scholars, is that it's a little bit more cynical than let God be with you.
No, it says it in this. The Lord had better be with you.
Okay?
And I let you and your little ones go.
So he's like, you know, he's being a bit cynical. Alright, he's not yielding and going, oh yes, may God go before you, love him madly, bye. Like that translation, well, he better be with you. Okay? Starts to push his authority, but he's still negotiating, he's still holding on. And you'll see this time and time again. And to this, and he said to them, Hashem would be with you like that when I would let you go and your infants go. See, because it's bad, because bad is in front of your faces. It is not like that. Go, the men, and serve Hashem, because that's what you're asking. And he drove them up in Pharaoh's face. So he goes, no, only the men can go. The rest of them I'll keep here. I want to make sure you stay. And Hashem said to Moses, reach out your hand at the land of Egypt for the locust, and it will come upon the land of Egypt, and it will eat the land's vegetation, everything that the hail has left. And Moses reached out his staff in the hand of Egypt, and Hashem drove an east wind. Remember that east wind that seems to come coming back. It's about God's power. It was the morning, and the east wind had carried the locust swarm, and the locust swarm came up over all the land of Egypt and lingered in all of Egypt's border, very heavy. Before it there was no such locust swarm like it, and after it there will not be such. And it covered the eye of all the land, and the land was dark. And it ate all the land's vegetation and the fruit of every tree and the hail that the hail had left. And not any plant was left in the tree and in the field's vegetation in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh hurried to call Moses and Aaron, and he said, I've sinned against Hashem your God and against you. First time he said, I've sinned. Now I've not only offended you, but I've offended, God, and I've offended you, Moses and Aaron as well. And now, bear my sin just this one time and pray to Hashem, your God. Sorry, what plague are we on?
8.
7, 8. Pick one. Which one are we at? 8. Okay? So, he's only sinned once, this one time, against them, right? After the 8th wonder. And go and pray to your God that he'll turn just this death away from me. And he went out from Pharaoh and prayed to Hashem. And Hashem turned back a very strong west wind, and he picked up the locust swarm and blew it into the sea. Note, he picks up the destroyer through a mighty wind of opening and closing, east and west, and he washes it away. The crossing that is coming was the waters were separated by a mighty ruach, a wind. And when they walked through, the destroyer was coming in after them, Pharaoh and his army. And God reversed the wind, and the destroyer was washed away. This is what I'm going to do. Remember, this is what's going to happen. Not one locust was left in Egypt's borders. And Hashem strengthened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the children of Israel go. And Hashem said to Moses, reach out your hand at the skies, and let there be darkness on the land of Egypt. The one will feel darkness. And Moses reached out the hand and at the skies, and there was dismal darkness in the land of Egypt 3 days. Each man did not see his brother, and each man did not get up from under it 3 days. Is this just an eclipse? No, what eclipse lasts for 3 days? First problem. Second thing, this was so heavy that they literally couldn't get out of bed. It was like a depression. Okay?
Question.
Sure.
Why would he harden Pharaoh's heart if he was going to just do this anyways?
Okay?
With
The
Pharaoh's
first 6 plagues, remember?
Yeah.
Pharaoh hardened his own heart.
Mm.
Then he said, okay, you've made your choice. But for the point of me multiplying my wonders, not multiplying punishment. You see the difference?
Mm. But what I see here is also that Pharaoh had changed. He just, boom, 180. He done a full 180, but then the Lord says,
Where
okay, wait.
Where did he do a 180?
Sorry?
Where did he do a 180?
Well, here he says,
You think that he's saying that...
repentance is, forgive me, I'll pray thee my sin.
It was a shadow repentance to avoid consequences.
How many times has Pharaoh done this already before?
He has.
See, he goes and he goes, I'm really, really, really sorry, can't you take this away from me? And then the word says, as soon as the plague was removed, he went back to his old ways. He was getting rid of the discomfort. And this is again what we will do. If you do not yield to the process of God, God will put you through a wilderness. It'll have a tough time. You will go maybe through financial difficulty. You will go through relationship difficulty. You will be pushed and pulled from pillar to post because God wants to reinforce in you why you are following Him. Are you doing it just because it's comfortable? How much do you love me? And then as soon as the difficult, you're going through it and you're clinging to God and you're like, Lord please, and He gets you through the other side. Or He removes that little bit of testing and guess what happens? Well, it's over now, I can carry on doing the way it was. I can go back to the way I always was.
It's like a convenience.
Exactly. No one likes to be put into a wilderness, but man, when we hit the promised land, we don't have to worry about the wilderness stuff anymore. That God that got us through the hard times then, you know what, we're in a better place now. Forget about it. How many people do you know are praying day and night when things are tough? And when things are okay, maybe every third day. We do this. And I'll say it again. The biggest test we'll ever face is abundance. When you don't have to rely on God for your daily bread. When you don't have to rely on God for understanding. You don't have to rely on God for protection. I've got a buddy who moved to New Zealand, a believer, and he says, this place is, I'm like, how are you finding it? Is everything cool? He says he has never met so many stubborn atheist people in all of his life. Life is just too good here. They don't need to worry about anything. So therefore they don't cling to God. Our whole nation is like, we don't need them. We've got jobs, the economy's good. We don't have to worry about war, we're a peaceful land. Why pray? What am I going to pray for? Seems silly. Our government is good. You know, in New Zealand, there's only there was like last year, only 52 murders in the entire year. We averaged that a day.
That was the irony. They had an earthquake in Christchurch.
And all of a sudden, maybe people's face got shook. But he says it's just ridiculous. These people really just, life is so good that they don't need to pray. They don't need to cling on to a God. It's amazing. God puts you through the wilderness to teach you who He is, not just to make you uncomfortable. And when He gets you out the other end, you should be stronger, you should have bigger faith, you should understand Him a whole lot more, so that when people who have too much, and remember, this was a disciple's call. When you go to places, when we go to Israel, amen, when I take you there, and I take you to a place called Zipporus, or we go to Bet Shean, and it's Roman, and there's theatres, and there's bathhouses, and there's luxury, and there's public toilets. This is a big thing back in those times. Okay? And we walk the streets, and we don't have to worry about dust and nothing, and we've got merchants, spices from all over the empire, and clothes, and people walk around working 3 days with their togas wrapped over their arms. That means, excuse me, I don't work. I hire people to do this. I carry my clothes around. And when you get there, it's all about this amazing lifestyle. Go to Hollywood and tell them they need something. If they need something, they go and buy it. You go and buy this. You have nothing unless you have God. And they sit and they go, how are we going to tell this to a society that believes they have everything? And you start to get an understanding coming up from little Capernaum, little Bethsaida, little Chorazin, these little Galilean towns of maybe 2,000. 2,000 people, that's a couple of families, man. And we move up and we go into a city with thousands of people walking the streets every day. And I have to tell them they don't have anything?